Hello, fellow individuals and bird lovers. Welcome to my ornithology presentation. My name is Gael Delgado, and my presentation is the how and why of the domestic chicken. So, let me tell you about my background. I raised backyard chickens several years ago, about when I was 11. And I had 11 hens, 2 roosters, and 9 different breeds. And from this experience, I learned that they were all very different from each other, depending on the breed. And yet they were all still the same species, and they could all interbreed with each other. And this got me wondering about other birds. So, for example, sparrows. You see all these sparrows down here, they all look almost identical, yet they're all different species, and within their own species, they look and act very similarly to each other. But within the species of the domestic chicken, each breed acts very differently from each other, yet it's all the same species. So, my research question is, how did domestic chickens come to have so many different varieties, and why aren't they considered a different species from each other? And so in the picture, you have some of my chickens here. To the far left, you have a phoenix hen, and this breed is very frighty and scared, and they like to sleep in trees. But this other breed right here, the cochin, it's a breed from China. They're very friendly. They love sleeping in their coop, and they don't really fly that well. And they'll let you pick them up whenever they want. So, and they're the same species. So that's pretty strange. So before engaging in domestic chicken history, we have to talk about the genus that they're in, which is Gaius. And the genus Gaius has 4 different species in it: the green jungle fowl, the gray jungle fowl, and the Ceylon jungle fowl. But the Gaius species most widespread and most significant to the evolution of domestic chickens is the bird of the hour, red jungle fowl, whose Latin name is Gaius gaius. And as you can see, they don't migrate at all. They don't migrate. This is their range. They just stay in these orange areas all year round, and they eat bamboo seeds and insects. And as you can see, they have a lot in common with domestic chickens. So, Gaius subspecies, being polytypic, which means having several varieties within one species, there are 5 recognized wild subspecies of the red jungle fowl, but they're all very minorly different, so we won't talk about that. And as I understand it, the domestic chicken is simply a domestic subspecies of the red jungle fowl. It's scientifically classified as Gaius domesticus. Domesticus being its subspecies name. So genetic, behavioral, and morphological evidence all points to Gaius as being the primary ancestor of modern chickens. However, there's evidence for hybridization with other members of the Gaius genus. I think most significantly, the gray jungle fowl, which is from India, it has yellow skin, and some chickens today have yellow skin, among other different colors like black and red. So some people think that this yellow skin trait came from the gray jungle fowl. So, chicken domestication and dispersion. There was no single event or reason that led to the domestication of wild jungle fowl that we know of. But I'm pretty sure it wasn't just a single event. It happened over several places at different times, I think. There's a lack of evidence that they were farmed for their meat or eggs. That is not why they were domesticated. They were domesticated and kept for aesthetic and recreational purposes. Most notably cockfighting, which is when you make 2 roosters fight each other. And it would be very entertaining back in the day. It's banned now. Genetic evidence suggests that they were domesticated 8,000 years ago. And how exactly were they domesticated? Well, in the article I read, it was kind of like the same sort of deal as cats, where they just followed humans around. The origin of domestic chickens is unclear, with evidence for several locations in Southeast Asia being viable. Yes, there's a lot of argument about where exactly domestic chickens were domesticated, but generally Southeast Asia is the location that it happened. And chickens spread around the world with human migration and trade. And in Europe, the earliest chicken bones found, which were in Greece, dated back to 8th century BCE. Chicken bones found in Chile dating to pre-Columbian times suggest chickens were somehow brought to America from Asia. And the Incans even had their own breed of chicken, the Aracuna, which has feathered tufts below its mandibles on its cheeks, and it doesn't have tail feathers, and it lays a blue egg. And it was there before European chickens. So how did it get there? Europeans were native to Asia, not America. So the explosion of chicken breeds. The earliest known large-scale exploitation of chicken for poultry and eggs outside of Asia was during the Hellenistic period, so 400 to 200 BC, in Maresha, Israel. And they knew that this happened because there's twice as many female chicken bones as male chicken bones. So they must have had a bunch of females for eggs, I'm assuming. I think that's how they knew. Once chickens began to be used as a food source, they quickly became one of the most widespread livestock in Europe because they were just so cheap and easy, and people really liked having them. Compared to like cows and goats, they're very small and manageable. And they lay eggs almost every day. In 1868, Charles Darwin, about that, they don't lay eggs in the winter, which makes them kind of expensive to keep over the winter because you have to feed them, and they're not producing anything during that time unless you kill them. So that is kind of a drawback. However, that gets fixed. In 1868, Charles Darwin produced a survey of all the known chicken breeds at the time. He came up with 13 different categories, which isn't too many. The discovery of vitamin D in 1920 allowed farmers to keep chickens productive during the winter, making them extremely economically viable. And this is when we start seeing a rise in factory farming in chickens and in the amount of chicken breeds that are developed because they gain a lot of popularity. Most chicken breeds we have today were developed in the early 20th century. Today, there are over 500 fancy breeds of chickens. Chickens are now the most common livestock and bird in the world. There's about 33 million chickens in the world, 3 for every human. So in conclusion, it's our fault that there are so many different breeds of chicken. How are there so many different breeds of chicken? It's because of us. As we customize them for our own anthropomorphic needs and desires, many of our ornamental and poultry breeds would not survive in the wild. Just look at the chickens in some of these photos, like the Seabright. That's a purely ornamental chicken. I don't think that's it doesn't look well suited for surviving in the wild. And factory farmed meat chickens, they're just, they've been bred for their fatness, and they just get killed after 7 weeks. So they're suited for our purposes, not the wild. And the reason why they're all still the same species is because they may still breed with each other, and they are still genetically similar, despite their phenotypic differences. But the truth is, we do this to all sorts of domesticated animals, like cows, dogs. We make new varieties that fit our purposes. We're excited. Thank you very much for watching. Any questions, you can drop them in the comments down below. Thank you very much.